الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to this series of Friday sermon discussions brought to you by Majlis Ghulam MDA UK Tarbiyyat Department on the Blessed Friday sermons delivered by Hazrat Ameerul Momineen Allah Ta'ala bin Nasr Aziz. I'm delighted to be joined by panelist Marbi Silsila Hamayu Jangi Khan Saab. Hamayu Saab, over to you in regards to the summary of this week's Friday sermon.
Jazakallah Qasim Sab, Auzubillah minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahim. So back with the Friday sermons now. And beloved Huzoor, as always, is giving us so many pearls of wisdom. And just talking to a few people just before I get started, they very senior people have studied Islam for a long time in their life. Whenever Huzoor gives these Friday sermons, they are, they're astonished about how many incidents Huzoor is pulling out, and all this background information he's giving about the Khulafa Rashideen. So Huzoor in recent weeks has been talking about Hazrat Abu Bakr Rizal Anhu, the first Caliph of Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this one was really special, maybe because of the timing, but also because the ways which Huzoor explained it as well. And Huzoor really talked about the patience of the early Muslims and how Hazrat Abu Bakr Rizal was able to harness that and look after many of those early Muslims who were facing difficult times. One of those people that Huzoor mentioned was Hazrat Khubab bin Arad Rizal anhu. And he was someone who showed extreme patience in the face of adversity. One of those signs which Huzoor mentioned was when someone saw the skin of Hazrat Khubab Rizal anhu's back, and he found it to be extremely hard and rough. And when he inquired about it, Hazrat Khubab Rizal anhu said that when I accepted Islam, my master who was in charge of me continued to beat me continuously, and to the point where he would even drag me across stones. But all I would reply is the Islamic creed of La ilaha illallah. And this showed again how, when people accepted Islam, it wasn't like a small thing. There was a massive retaliation from the Meccans, and they really tried to stop the spread of Islam right from the beginning. And these early Muslims, especially the slaves, had to face a lot of torture. But as we know from these early Muslims, they showed a lot of patience. And Hazrat Abu Bakr Rizal anhu was one of those companions who was there to step in, and because he was quite a wealthy companion during those times as well, he would give a massive amount of money to allow those slaves to be free. And the people in Mecca would think that he's deluded to give so much money for slaves who it seems were worthless to them, but for him it was something which he was doing solely for the pleasure of Allah. And even his own father, Hazrat Bakr Islam, whose father was saying to him, advised him that, why are you wasting your time on poor slaves? Why don't you go for to the rich ones, to the ones who have some status, and free them? And Hazrat Bakr Rizal who replied by saying that, I only want to do this for the pleasure of Allah. And if I see that something like this is happening in my heart, something is telling me to help them and free them. And this was a really beautiful example. There was another example as well that Huzoor opened up with, was with a slave girl, and similar incident about how she was also being tortured, and how Hazrat Abu Bakr Rizal who also paid off the master of the slave with a lot of money, And this as well showed how much sympathy he had for those people who were accepting Islam and at the same time were facing a very difficult time in their lives. So these were two incidents. There were obviously a lot more. So obviously it's very difficult to cover them in this short video. So I advise all Khuddam to try and listen back to it and try to soak in all those words of wisdom which beloved Huzoor has been mentioning in his Friday sermon. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah Humayun Sahab. And just to make address a point, to contextualize it, for in today's scenario, and Huzoor is delivering these Friday sermons for our benefit live, based on the situation of the world today. And I think one thing that you mentioned there was, patience and steadfastness. There's so many people across the world that are going through hardships at the moment, be it political unrest in certain countries, be it economical unrest, environmental unrest with different climate issues that are happening. But patience and steadfastness and recognizing your creator and doing stuff for the love of your creator is so important. And you've got practical examples of someone like Hazrat Abu Bakr Razillah Ta'ala Anhu, who is a revered individual, and 1400 years after his time on this earth, we are discussing his actions. Just goes to show the honor that he has in the status of the world and in the history of Islam. Huzoor is giving us his examples. And I don't know if you could just elaborate on how us as Khuddam members in this society can use those examples in our own daily lives.
Yeah, I think we should never think that these are just words written in the history books, but they are things that people practically went through, and it's going to happen throughout their lives and throughout our lives as well, where we have times where we are faced with some sort of trial, whether it's within our work, whether it's to do with our religion. I think that's the most important thing about how we face problems when it comes to our religious status, when it comes to, whether I should read namaz or whether I should read the Holy Quran or whether I should listen to Huzoor's Friday sermon. Every day we're being tested in some sort of way. And so if we do look at these examples, we need to look at, what were these early Muslims holding on to? Why were they so loyal? And why were they so willing to give up so much when they could have had the world in the palm of their hands and when it comes to wealth? And that's something, which a lot of people, they seek in today's day and age. And the reality is that they recognized that even though they lived in that society, they were given a ray of hope when Islam came, because they were given this message of a living God, and that living God was there to always be by their side and to be able to answer their prayers. And so in the West, especially when we are so busy within our own lives, we tend to forget that there's a bigger purpose to our lives than just going out and making money and feeding our family. It's more than that. It's trying to please Allah the Almighty within our daily lives, and every action that we do, we should try and please Allah. And if we do that, then when those trials do come upon us, then we have Allah to always lean on and to have Him to take us through those difficult times, just like those early Muslims were able to be taken through those difficult times. And we saw the result of that, of how slaves were made into great companions, to companions where Allah the Almighty had said, the radiallahu anhum, that He was pleased with them, made them into leaders, made them into commanders. And so we too should never think that we are any less than them. We can also be on that religious status and spiritual status that they were on. It's just how we handle those trials and tribulations when they come in front of us.
Indeed. Very important points that you've made there, Humayun Sahab, and Jazakallah for delivering such a succinct and effective summary of the khutbah. As regular viewers of this program will know, we normally end the Friday sermon discussion with an extract of the Friday sermon delivered by Hazrat Ameerul Momineen. So let's watch that now.
आज मैं अफ़गानिस्तान के अहमदियों के लिए दुआ के लिए भी कहना चाहता हूँ
बहुत तकलीफ़ में गुजर रहे हैं, बाज़ गिरफ़्तारियाँ भी हुई हैं, औरतें बच्चे बड़े परेशान हैं घरों में अपने, जो बाहर हैं मर्द जो गिरफ़्तार नहीं हुए वो भी बेघर हुए हैं क्योंकि ख़तरा है कि गिरफ़्तारियाँ ना हो जाएं। अल्लाह ताला उनके लिए आसानियाँ पैदा फरमाए और उनको इस मुश्किल से निकाले। फिर पाकिस्तान के अहमदियों के लिए भी दुआ करें, वहाँ भी अमूमी तौर पर हालात ख़राब ही होते हैं, कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई वाक़या हो जाता है जो लोग अहमदियों को तकलीफ़ें दे रहे हैं। इसी तरह मजमूई तौर पर भी दुआ करें अल्लाह ताला दुनिया को हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम को पहचानने की तौफ़ीक़ अता फ़रमाए और हर शर को ख़त्म करे और दुनिया अपने पैदा करने वाले की हकीकत को पहचान ले।